Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to another episode of Game Break. I am Charles, coming to you today with another episode of World End Economica. Yeah, that's right, we're going back for another round of financial contests, figuring out Hal's worth in, not the world, since they're on the moon, in the moon. And how can we help out Hagana, considering she has lived a very rough life so far? And there's gotta be a way that we can help her find her worth, or better understand her worth in the world, or in the moon, since they're not on Earth. So how about we dive right in and see where we go from here?
Recently, she's been staying up all late into the night.
Oh?
You didn't notice?
Nope. When I fall asleep, I don't wake up.
Ah, how nice. I wake up quite easily.
You probably don't exercise enough. When I said that, Lisa fell silent and glanced down. Where she looked, to preserve Lisa's good name, I pretended not to see.
I wonder if it is... exercise. No, wait. We're not talking about that.
What?
So, in the end, how was it?
How was what? I munched on a spring roll Hagana had dropped.
Hagana's program thing.
Ah, it was a huge success. Maybe we can aim for the top prize, I said as I was scooping up rice. Hagana didn't really eat much, but she seemed to like Chinese food and always wanted to make sure everyone got the same portions. With her down for the count, I guess the rest was mine. You thought wrong. When I reached out for some steamed dumplings, Lisa hit me.
There won't be any for her tomorrow morning. Don't make that face. So, a huge success, really.
Damn it. Yeah, it's true.
Oh? And so the rush of relief.
Lisa spoke while looking towards Hagana's room. Then she turned to me and put her own dumpling on my plate. I didn't mean for you to give me yours.
Always the stubborn one.
Lisa sighed and hunched her shoulders.
But, I see. That's good.
Lisa had a kind of relieved, quiet smile on her face. She stirred the small bowl of soup by her hand with a piece of lotus root. I had a feeling that it wasn't because the program was working and was making money. With my chopstick still in my mouth, I stared at Lisa a bit. But then she suddenly raised her head.
Holding chopsticks in your mouth isn't polite.
Oh, shut up. Rude. Swearing, I moved some stir-fry to my plate. While I was stirring up that well-seasoned dish, I knew Lisa was looking at me and smiling. But I wanted to pretend like I didn't see, and Lisa kept looking at me until I put my plate down on the table. Setting my plate down, I tried my very best to glare at Lisa. What? However, all Lisa did was tilt her head slightly. Grown women. It was embarrassing and frustrating, but even so, I didn't hate it. That really pisses me off.
I just thought that, wow, that these sort of things happen too.
What?
Good coincidences.
With just that, I had a feeling I understood what she was saying.
Well, no. You've done all that you possibly could after all.
Being told that straight to my face, it felt like I was being made fun of. Drinking the soup, I hid my mouth. Not particularly.
Hehe.
Lisa laughed and took a slow, deep breath.
If you weren't around, what would have happened to us, I wonder?
Not Hagana alone, or Lisa alone, but the two of them together. If I weren't around, what would have happened to them in the church? I tried imagining what that would be like, and could only come up with a wretched image.
I'm probably imagining about the same. Just two girls together wouldn't feel very restrictive. But at times things get a bit too heavy.
You're young enough to be a girl. When I muttered that, Lisa glared at me with a smile.
Jeez. You don't like it, so I don't say, but really, I feel so thankful I almost don't even know what to say. There was that selling the books thing, but there was just nothing I could do about Hagana.
I just couldn't find a serious way to answer Lisa's words. And you're saying it right now?
Hey, words are difficult things, aren't they?
Lisa said cheerfully. Even I could tell that she did it to brighten the mood for my sake. Lisa had really been in a dangerous situation. If she were the type of adult I hated, she would have fawned more, or been stubborn and turned my suggestion down. But Lisa just accepted quickly and didn't even try to push thanks onto me. Even though I knew that I looked like a useless blockhead, she didn't even cut in much when I was dealing with Hagana. At home, in the fields, almost nothing could be done alone. Every day someone got help from someone, and that was natural. There, I saw over and over how great adults behaved. There, I learned to keep thanks to a minimum, to not try to give ineffective help, and staying still was the hardest thing for those being helped. For those helping, I knew they felt more at ease that way. Lisa was being a perfect example of that. However, I also knew that those who were receiving help also felt more at ease if something were requested of them by way of thanks. Especially if they felt thankful. That was why I hesitated. And after my hesitation subsided, I finally spoke. Are you going to do something for me in thanks? I tried to speak gruffly, but was so nervous I stuttered. That might have been partly why Lisa's eyes popped at me.
You'd let me?
And she asked that back.
You seemed like you'd hate it. So I've been holding back, but...
Lisa spoke while giving a bit of a troubled laugh. Modesty, self-control, disgusting generosity. I gave Lisa a furtive glance and spoke. For example...
That's right, like a feast or something.
Aren't you broke?
Cooking is pure feelings. What about you then? Is there something that I can do? Don't hold back and let me know.
Saying that, she straightened up. Unlike Hagana, her shapely bust clearly affected the shape of her clothes. In my head, there was that phrase that had been spinning around. Just one phrase. But I didn't have the courage to speak it.
Ah.
Then Lisa said that and put her hand to her mouth.
Or maybe you want to take a bath together. Or something.
What are you, stupid? I knew that my face was bright red, but it wasn't like I didn't have ulterior motives. So I objected as strongly as I could. Lisa was simply laughing loudly, and when she rested her cheek on her hand, elbow on the table, she spoke somewhat happily.
In 5 years, when you become a good man, I'll think about it.
You'd be an old lady then. Smiling while angry. That was one of Lisa's skills. But, even so, Lisa ultimately just burst out laughing.
So, what do you really want? Just come out and say it.
From across the table, I realized just how unbelievably childish I was. La. Oh. I had no idea if I said it clearly. Clearly you didn't. But Lisa became surprised, and then an unspeakably satisfied smile came across her face. Then, with her cheek still resting on her hand, she impolitely ate a dumpling. Looking at the end of the long chopstick, she moved it in a circle. Should I do it, I wonder? It was so obviously on purpose. I almost died of shame. But, finally, Lisa gave a small nod. Keep this quiet from Hagana. When I said that, Lisa gently lowered her eyes.
Of course. If boys didn't have secrets, they'd die, right?
In the end, she even cleaned my ears with an ear pick. What? If she'd said she'd do it one more time for 50,000 mools, I was scared that I might pay. The next day resulted in a huge advance. When making a ton of trades, even Hagana's program missed at times. But when that happened, I compensated with gut feel. Hagana complained that it was indefinite and couldn't be relied on. But I had no choice because that was how market sentiment worked. In any case, it took me a lot less effort searching out stocks, so it let me concentrate on trading just that much more. On top of that, the idea of having a tone sound off when the price fell to a good spot was brilliant. If you asked me which was the best part of the program, that might have been it. Every stock we'd get 0.5% to 1% gains, occasionally 1.5%, and it just piled on furiously. 15 million mools quickly grew to over 25 million. Hagana's ability to watch the trading screen grew longer, and I started being able to have a bit more mental bandwidth during trading. We started talking while I traded, about how to improve the program. Heck, Hagana's dedication was amazing. Other than when she ate and slept, it seemed like she was only thinking about this. Occasionally, Chris would come by with a question while she was delivering, and somehow she'd get asked a question herself. Of course, Chris was stunned. Maybe she was a serious student, or just meek, but she'd wind up listening quietly to totally unrelated statistics or some other formula with me. And also, if Hagana thought of something, apparently she'd have nothing else but that on her mind. I'd seen her jump out of the bath and run to her room a number of times. Oh my. Of course, she was totally naked. She didn't even carry a towel. The first time I had been messing with my laptop at the table, and Lisa had been studying on the sofa. We were so surprised we just sat there, stunned, looking at Hagana. Just after Hagana flew into her room, Lisa finally came to herself and flew after her. I watched Lisa go and slowly returned my eyes back to the computer like a robot that had run out of oil. Hagana's smooth body was burned into my retina. Oh my. Streamlined skin that was seemingly soft and yet shone like porcelain. Well, just out of the bath, so still moist. It seemed so much like the dolphins I saw at the aquarium. I was moved. That's a bit weird. When Lisa brought Hagana back wrapped up in a sheet, I definitely couldn't look over. After shoving Hagana back into the bathroom and shutting the door with a great sigh, Lisa shook her head mournfully. After the second time, Lisa just calmly went to return Hagana to the bath like a household chore. By the fourth, apparently Hagana learned to take her terminal into the bath with her. Or maybe Lisa just gave in and allowed her to take it into the bath. Apparently, she had thought that holding it with wet hands might get her electrocuted. In that way, the program was improved, and I also learned how the program worked. I managed to find a knack for it, learning the places where I could trust it and the places where I couldn't. Many times I thought that it felt like gears coming together. In the imaginary space of the investing contest, it was like we were playing a game of chance where we knew most of the odds. In that situation, you could say it was only a matter of time before my greed came out. Well, at the beginning, I hadn't thought it would be able to use Hagana this way. Even though it was just a fake market for us to be profiting this consistently, there wasn't a reason not to. Essentially, applying it not just to the fake market, but real trading. I mean, theoretically. When I brought up the subject in the space between breakfast and trading, Hagana was so surprised she apparently didn't even imagine it.
The thing I made?
Yeah, the program you made. Hagana just stared at me blankly, looked at the program that was in the middle of calculating parameters, and then looked once more at me.
But this was made for the contest.
It can't be totally useless. Hagana just looked at me repeatedly. She looked at me like I was talking in birdsong, and she had no idea what I was saying all this time.
But the real market.
We can't try it? You've been using the past data from the contest for testing, right?
That's true.
Then do that with real data. If it works out, then we'll do it. Is that all right? To me, it was an awfully obvious conclusion. Or maybe there were technical reasons why we couldn't. Is something like that impossible?
No, it's not impossible.
Then please try. But Hagana's reaction was muted. Looking away, she seemed to be hesitating. What's wrong? So, when I asked her, she looked up at me in surprise. Then she looked away again. Oh, are you thinking about the sharing of profits? Hagana seemed to sometimes be greedy, and sometimes not. But she was probably concerned about that when it came to real trading. I asked her, thinking it was that, but surprisingly, Hagana's brows furrowed out of simple uneasiness.
It's not that.
Then what is it? Things are going this well, so it doesn't mean anything if we don't try it for real. Gazing at Hagana as she looked downwards, it just started to feel like I was picking on her. But I just had no idea why she was hesitating. I didn't have anything else to say, and I also couldn't just say, then let me borrow the program. Just when I was wondering what was going on, Hagana spoke, still looking down.
The real market.
Yeah? She looked up slowly.
It involves money, right?
A worried face. Well, of course.
Then I don't think it would go well.
Saying that, Hagana lowered her raised face again. Her eyes turned back to the terminal, and her thin fingers slowly touched the screen, changing prices in the program. I looked at her and wondered if I had turned stupid. I just did not comprehend what she said. What?
I don't think it could go well.
Hagana spoke clearly, but didn't look up from the terminal. I asked one more time. Why do you think that? Hell, can't you just try with the data? The program's built for that, right? Hagana's hands were still inputting into the terminal as I spoke, but when I stopped, her hands did too. Then she made to look at me, but stopped part way. And then her hand started messing with the terminal again. I finally lost it and grabbed her thin fingers with my fists and turned them towards me. Answer me. This thing you made. I really think it's amazing and it's giving results. Not using it in real trading is idiotic. Hagana silently tried to free her hands from mine, but there was no way she could throw off my grip. I let go of her hands, but not because she started clawing or tried to bite. Suddenly, she looked like she was about to cry. Don't cry.
I'm not crying.
Saying just that, she pressed her lips tightly together. Apparently, trying to hide that she was about to cry, she spoke curtly.
I don't think it would work in the real world.
It was the same thing. There wasn't any reason. There was something like a firm belief. The old me would simply have gotten angry and shouted, and we'd just have a fight and go nowhere. However, now I knew a fair amount about Hagana. She loved math, and even though the program she made was giving such amazing results in the fake market, she still firmly believed, with no supporting evidence, that it wouldn't work in the real world. It was almost pitiful, kind of self-defense mechanism. Things had never gone well, so they'd never go well in the future. She just didn't want to get hurt anymore holding out hope. That was essentially what she was saying. I remembered what Toyama said. A chick that hadn't even hatched from the shell. I gave Hagana's shell a small jab. It's not a problem if it can fail. Hagana looked at me with unreadable eyes. Her eyes were like pools of thick, black ink. There were demons in the market, as well as tons of pitfalls. Even if you had the perfect theory, it was probably impossible to win every single time. However, if you knew the reasoning behind winning, then if you stood through the end, you should win. Didn't I say, we keep going until it works? Plus, even if we lose, I'm not going to tell you to take responsibility. But if it works, I'd give you 20% of what we make. How about it? There's no downside in it for you, right? It's like that thing, that bonus lottery ticket.
Expected value.
Hagana said that immediately, then paused. Then she looked up at me.
But...
She said but again. The shell still held firmly shut. However, from between the cracks, she could hear.
I'm scared.
It was probably because I was someone who came from a lucky walk of life. I hadn't been bought with money from a wretched country on the harsh earth, nor had I experienced a life where I had to cry in a corner, protecting my head. That's why I wouldn't say that I knew how Hagana felt. But I knew what the words I wanted to say were. I looked into Hagana's eyes, looked so directly I could see myself in them, and spoke. I'm afraid myself. I'm putting my entire fortune on the line after all. You think about what happens if you lost all your money. When my net worth dropped 1%, that was when my body had 1% of it cut off. If you considered Lisa's body to be made of books, then mine was made of money. Hagana looked at my eyes and swallowed like she had a small hiccup. Then she lowered her eyes weakly, her eyes swimming. I was about to shout. However, Hagana's swimming eyes went to my computer screen, and she spoke in a small voice.
Trading.
Yeah?
It started.
Alerted by those words, I looked at the screen. Hagana's program would decide what stocks were going to hit today, so there wasn't a reason to rush. In fact, I knew that waiting for the market to start moving a bit and letting it recalculate actually improved the results. That's my eyes were taken in by the screen for an instant, but I quickly turned back to Hagana. However, Hagana may have just wanted some breathing room, even if it were for that one instant.
Okay.
What? She said that before I could even turn my eyes back, and I was a bit confused. But Hagana didn't speak again and turned her face back to her own terminal. We're gonna have to cut things off there because we are out of time. But thank you all for joining me for yet another episode. It's been interesting so far. We're getting closer to the end of the contest. It seems like Hagana's program is working the way they need it to. Now it's just a matter of will it be enough, or is it too little too late? There hasn't been much talk as to how the other contestants have been faring. How are they ranking so far? How far do they have to go? We'll see. But I feel like we're getting close. We're coming to a head one way or the other. I do like that Hagana and Hal are finally figuring things out in regards to friendship. Hal is still a bit of an ass. I don't think that's going to change entirely. But it's nice to see how far he's come, and it's nice to see that Hagana is trying little by little. So we'll have to find out next time how this goes down. Who is going to win, and how much. And if they use that program for real trading, just how far will they go? Don't know. But we'll find out next time. In the meantime, go be creative, go have some fun, go play some games, go enjoy some stories, some characters, some music. There's plenty out there.